Hey everyone, thank you for joining us once again on the Connecting Greeks podcast. I am Ari, and with me is always Foti Stamos. How are you, Foti?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Good, good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah.
What did you say? I can't hear you.
Another great segment, as always. You know, we talk about how interesting and fun each show is, but the truth is every show is great and fantastic because we make it great.
And you know what makes it even better? Angela Tsarujas out in the middle of the ocean.
I'm glad you guys acknowledge that. I'm glad you acknowledge. I'm good, guys. I'm just cruising away here, back at work, aimlessly making people laugh somewhere in the ocean, parts unknown. It's not like I don't have a family or anywhere to go to, so I come here. But I gotta say today, I read this young woman's bio, and I'll tell you where I made the connection. She has a site called Are You Even Greek, which I love the name. I follow it. I know exactly where it is. It's based in Australia. Similar background because her family's from Micronesia, like my family. My mom left Smyrni, same as your parents or grandparents, went to Mytilene. That's where my mom's from Lesbos. So that's the funny part of the family, because Sparti is the let's kill everything part of the family. So that's the thing. And you've done such a great job. So welcome to the Connecting Greeks podcast, Kristina, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. We appreciate your time, and we are really fascinated by what you're doing. So in case the audience doesn't know, can we just get a brief history about you and what it is you're doing? Just like, the handle, what it is, a brief summary.
Yeah, sure. So I started Are You Even Greek on Instagram just before COVID hit. It was December 2019. I was on maternity leave. I had my youngest then. And I just started making Greek posts, somewhere about history, somewhere about just the nuances of Greek culture. And before I knew it, by 2020, once COVID hit, it just exploded. I suppose everyone was home and they had nothing better to do than stay on their phones. So that's where
But you make it sound easy, but trust me, I've been in the industry for a long time. You have to have some sort of knack for picking these posts, images, commentary that attracts people. So although you're like, oh, I started it recently and it just exploded because everyone's not. A lot of people tried to do that and they didn't have the traction. You have a lot of traction, so it goes to show you have an eye for the Greek culture and for the audience. So I think that's commendable to you.
Thank you. I won't lie, from a young age, before memes were a thing, me and my friends would, before even the internet was a thing, we would get magazines and we'd find funny photos and just sit around at school and make those images Greek relatable. So say we'd find a funny photo of Brad Pitt, we would somehow make him or Brad Pitt and and just start making little jokes from there. And that went all through teenagehood and adulthood. And the internet came along and I would send funny things to my friends, and then they said, listen, you need to start a page. Everyone's doing it. If you start it, people are going to respond to it. It's funny, it's relatable, do it. So I remember I was actually breastfeeding my son and I went, all right, I'm going to start it. And I started it, and that's how it sort of took off. So, and I have a very strong interest for Greek history. Like in my spare time, I just read about Greek history. So that's why a lot of my posts, I'll inject it here and there. It's not so much a history page, but like amongst all the memes and the comedy, I'll just inject a bit of history because I want Greeks all over the world to know our history. Because a lot of Greek Australians, and I'm assuming Greek Americans and Canadians too, like you lose it a bit. You start learning about the history of the country you live in, and you forget about the motherland. So I just want people to know, just about our history and things that have happened. And another thing I'm really passionate about is the Greek genocide that happened around World War I, so 1914 and to 1923. A lot of people, even Greeks, just don't know enough about it. They think, oh, it was the Pontian genocide, but it wasn't. It was the Pontians, but it was all of Asia Minor. It was a lot of people perished, and it's just something that I want to unite and get that acknowledgement out there, and hopefully one day worldwide recognition.
Good for you.
That's a good point, because Kristina, my wife's Armenian, so they recognize. So my wife's Armenian, and it's funny because you had 1.5 million Armenians. It was brutal what they did. Yeah. And then about 900,000 Greeks and 700,000 Assyrians.
Exactly.
So you're bang on about that. And it's interesting that you said that it's good to bring people back to the roots, to understand our history. The first people that will remind us of anything is our parents. Yeah. So when I first went to Australia, the first thing I noticed was, although the accent was a little different, that was very much similar to the way we were raised. In when I say accent, I mean just when you speak English. I like it. It's very much exactly the same. If you took away that, guys, and you put, when I first went there, they told me, because a lot of people from my dad's village are in Melbourne, and when it was there, I didn't understand how many people were actually there. It's the largest Greek population outside of Greece is in Melbourne, more than New York or Chicago or Toronto. And when I was there, it was funny, because I think the reason things resonate, and I think why Are You Even Greek resonates, is you're asking the questions that we can all understand regardless of where we are. Yeah. And I think you got a lot of traction even in the States and in Canada and in England. And I think, I'll tell you, for traveling, the one thing I found was, does not matter where you go in the world. And I've said this to Adi and Forti many times. Greeks are Greeks. We all sort of come from that same cookie cutter in a sense. And when we get together, there's still a pride. I just saw this thing in Europe that Greeks are 89% proud of their heritage and history, more than any other country in Europe.
Yeah, they were rated the most proud.
They're rated the most,
the greatest pride.
And I think, look, I went through a period where, my first wife was Greek. I got divorced. I kind of hated Greeks for a minute. Then it was obvious, I just had it, whatever. But I realized you can't change who you are, and it doesn't matter where I go. Even here in the ship, I did, because I can't do all the Greek stuff I would do in my other show. And there's Greeks in the audience from Chicago. And then they waited for me after the show. Like they waited, and they want to know. And this is, Are You Even Greek? Which I love the name. This is where people, first thing, and we do it like our parents, like, where's your family from? Right? Where are you guys from?
Right away.
Kalinos, from Mytilene, from Sparti. Oh yeah, my this and that. And right away, we want to collect. And that's always something that I found amazing. And I think with the stuff that you were doing, and that's what Forti and Adi was saying, we were talking about this, it's that it's something to continue on, because you're right. I will meet 4th or 5th generation Italians in New York, and they go, I'm Italian. And I go, where's your family from in Italy? I don't know. They don't know.
Yeah. Right.
So do you find also, Kristina, that when people are reading this stuff and it's factual, it's funny, it's everything. Because if anything we do, we have to make it factual, we have to make it real, make it funny, whatever. But at the same time, it's the same message. Like what we're doing now, when you said you started, Are You Even Greek? Ari and Forty, who I've known for years, they're like, hey, we're doing this thing called Connecting Greeks.
Yeah.
And they go, what are you doing, Ange? I'm like, nothing. And they interviewed me. They go, do you want to come and just, jump on the band? I go, yeah. And here we are. So did your friends encourage it, or you just said, I'm just going to make a page and just do it?
My friends encouraged it because I think they got sick of me DMing them jokes, and they both said, just make a page and this and man.
Yeah.
That's why I thought, all right, I'll do it. And I thought I did not take it serious in the beginning, I have to admit, and I couldn't even think of a name. I was going to call it Kristina's Jokes or something like that. And then my sister said, well, you always start your joke saying, are you even Greek if? And I said, all right, I'll use that name then. So that's how it came about.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that it's like, you have such a large following, and it happened. I actually was going to ask how many years you've been doing it, and come to hear you say it's like it's a baby. It's like a baby in internet age. So it's like, that's so cool.
Well, Adi, I have a massive fan base in Australia.
You sure do.
I do, and I didn't realize it until I went there. And the thing is it's funny because, do you find, Kristina, because Australia is so far away, it's an island continent, and it's because it's 24 hours from Melbourne to Athens. It's not like us here, Boston, Athena, 8 hours, whatever, 9 hours. They got to travel a full day. So when the Aussie Greeks go out, they go out. Like I meet the Aussie Greeks, they'll go to Greece, then they'll go to England, then they'll go to Canada, then they'll go to America. They do a whole strophe.
Yeah.
It's not like us, where we got to go there, we got to come back. So I found Toilinismo that I found in Australia. Like if you go to Oakley, so imagine the suburb of Boston, imagine like Arlington or something, or Quincy, all Greek. Wow. The shops, everything with it, pretty much all Greek. Brunswick, all these other places that you go to. Yeah. And I was walking around, and it even at one point felt more Greek, because when you go to Greece now, it's a whole mixed salad now in Greece, right? If you go to Glyfada, or if you go to Kifisia and these kind of places. But when I was in Melbourne, I was hanging out at Vanilla, the cafe.
I was there.
It's a great cafe, by the way. I love those guys. And there's the Kalimera Souvlaki?
Yeah,
I think so. Guys, the food is so good. And they have an ice cream shop that has kataifi ice cream and baklava ice cream and mela macarona ice cream. This is they really embrace it so much. And I admire that so much about Australia. And it's funny because I think coming different perspectives, and coming back to you, Kristina, for this, it's like you just realize the effect that we've had with our show. And when Forty said we're gonna have you on as a guest, I'm like, that's exactly what this show is about, is connecting people. And by doing that, we're able to enhance our Greek culture through all the elements, whether we've had singers on, we've had actors, we've had doctors, chefs, influencers. We have everything on, but it doesn't matter to us because it's like, that's what we want to maintain. And we hope that our kids may keep some of that. That's like, when you think of church and you think of dance, I did this thing called FDF. Do you guys know this in California? Folk Dance Festival.
Yeah.
We've heard of it, right? Right. Okay. So this is like 60 Greek churches send all their kids, to Greek dance in a competition in California. I hosted it. I did a show there once. There's almost 8,000 people.
Wow.
They don't speak Greek, but they know the words in Greek and they dance Greek. A lot of them don't speak Greek. Now, the difference is, and I'm not saying this because you guys speak Greek, in America, it was mixed. Australia and Canada, I found, the first generation, second generation, we speak Greek. In America, I found in the bigger areas, Boston, New York, Chicago, Detroit, you know, and other parts, they speak Greek, but other places, people come up to me like, well, I'm Greek, but I identify with Greek, and I don't really speak Greek, and it's interesting, and they regret it now. So this is why what you're doing, Kristina, is so important. You know, that these things that we're doing are relevant and they're important.
Yeah, I get questions all the time from people. How can I learn Greek? I'm 20 something years old. I never learned. Do you know an app? Do you know someone I can speak to that can teach me? So there's people that are now regretting it. You know, no one wanted to go Greek school when they were kids, and they regret it now.
Well, I want to make a point that both Angela had raised, and now Kristina, you also just followed through, is that, you know, the regrets are from those that maybe didn't have the same impact at home. I think parents are where it all begins. And in your bio that we read, Kristina, you know, you talk about influences growing up, and in the Greek household, in my age, growing up in the 80s and so forth, our parents obviously would have the VHSs to watch Greek movies and Greek actors, and comedians. Who are some of your influences or influencers then, growing up in a Greek household, whether it's in Australia, Canada, and the US, that really stuck with you, that now you can look back on, that help kind of drive your passion to stay Greek?
Stathis is probably my favorite. It has to be my favorite.
Classic.
And then another show that I used to watch, and I was actually, I'd look forward to it. I remember I'd stay at my Yayyampapu's house, and they lived in Richmond, and Richmond in Melbourne, especially from the 60s to about the early 90s, was very heavily Greek populated area. And now it's a very yuppie, modern area for young people, young professionals. But anyway, we used to go to a Greek video shop, and I would look forward to hiring Tamtako. Now, I'm not sure if you guys remember him, but I used to laugh so hard at Tamtako. So he was one of my favorites, and of course, Stathis Psalti.
Yeah, brilliant performers, and also one mention that I noticed is, which I was a big fan growing up, that I look forward to, was Vegos.
Oh, Vegos,
yes. Great.
Was, you know, we would as kids try to mimic some of his performances, but these individuals were, in my opinion, so brilliant. Like, you don't see that kind of comedy in the era that we live in. But that's, I just wanted to mention.
Don't forget Hadi Klin.
And Hadi Klin,
whenever anybody asks me, Rodney Dangerfield, Jackie Mason, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, I always say Hadi Klin, because he would combine voices and scenarios. He was, like, to me, the original Greek stand-up impressionist. Yeah. And the guy was, all those guys were funny.
Geniuses.
They were able to make it funny. And I remember we used to have the 8-track. I think you're too young for this.
8-track. No, my dad had an 8-track.
We had 8-track. And we'd drive to Florida from Canada. And my dad would be screaming at us, my dad was yelling in the back seat at us. And we'd be listening to Hadi Klin, and we'd listen to Tria Bel Canto. Like, we got tortured. God.
Oh, man.
Remember the Tria Bel Canto? My dad loved that shit, right? And then we'd be like, okay, we're going to kill ourselves. We can't listen to it anymore.
How about this, guys? Back then, in that time, in the 80s or 70s and 80s, you know, film out of Greece was a little more, you know, rated R or racy, that regardless, that we still watch it as a family, even though, like, the performances or the scenes were a little too much for our age back then. But
that would have never passed into an American.
Hold on, but you know why?
I'll tell you that now.
Why? You know why? Because it's Greek.
Yeah.
If they use language, it's hilarious.
Imagine if
anything else, they'd say, no, you're not going to watch this. No, I always laugh that Greek parents, even if they use language or sex, if it's Greek, it's okay.
It's okay.
Right, Kristina? It doesn't matter. Mom, 7 years old.
And imagine having one of your non-Greek friends at the house watching these movies or episodes.
Yeah, I went to Kristina's house, and it was a bit.
There's a topless lady being chased by a psalte, like in the thing. And
Yeah.
But
I
guys,
loved it.
Yeah,
My
I
American friends
understand.
would be mortified.
our parents' fears when they left Greece, I think a lot of them never wanted to leave. They had to.
Mhm.
So their fear that instilled is that they wanted us, the kids, to maintain Tolinismo. And I think that was their fear. That's why I didn't like this the Xeno kids. You're not
Mm.
gonna go with those guys. PNFT, pupendo telefono to proi. All that kind of stuff, right? Am I right?
Right.
It's, and I know it's the
But
same in
you could-
Australia.
My parents were so set on that they sent me to an actual school that was Greek, not just Greek school. So in Melbourne, there's a college called Oakley Grammar, but it's called Oakley Grammar now, but it used to be called Oakley Greek Orthodox College. So sort of like a Catholic schools, but a Greek version, a Greek Orthodox version. And we would learn Greek once a day. Everyone there was Greek. We would go to church once a week as well. So me growing up, I thought the opposite to Greek was English. I didn't realize because I just felt I was just that Greek. And my surname isn't actually a very big surname. And all my friends had big surnames. And I felt like I wanted a really big Greek surname, you know.
You say that because you
opposite.
didn't have a big
Yeah.
I didn't have a really big surname, and I would get upset. I'm like, how come our surnames aren't big like my friends? And it wasn't even cut short. It just happened to be, and not that it's a small surname, but it wasn't a big, Opolopoulos name.
Yeah.
Like
And I
Kalogopoulos?
felt that I didn't, I wasn't Greek enough.
So just
Hilarious.
to make you feel a little bit better, I grew up in a very predominantly Irish neighborhood where I'm from, were a lot of Irish people, Irish Bostonians. So it was a lot of Sean Murphys and John Mahoney's and whatever, and Aristides Konstantinos Kalogeropoulos was. And they would read out the class. They're like, Sean Murphy here, Matt Smith here. And then they would stop.
Oz.
Every time they would stop, I'd be like, it's me. And everybody would laugh.
You knew.
Yeah.
You knew right away.
It was traumatizing. But now I love it. But it was traumatizing when you're young.
Yeah, you hate your name at that point because it's so awkward.
But it did teach me how to spell very well when I was in kindergarten with all the letters. So I
There you go.
used all the letters that we had.
And now it's Arialos.
Aricalos.
Got it down.
Nice.
That's-
I try having sarukas, chicharaches, chicharuchas. They can never even a comma on the ship. Oh, malacas. I told him, say the name right. He goes, it's a
Guys,
saruka.
I have
You
a
can't say it. I refuse to change it. I won't change it.
I have a short name, and everyone has a tough time with my first name because for some reason it's hard to pronounce Fotios, and they add these letters that don't exist in my name because it's such for some reason it's tough for people.
Yeah, but you got Stamos, so you got like John.
Even
John's
that gets hacked.
Yeah, but everybody knows that name.
Yeah,
Everybody
Greek
knows that name.
get their names hacked all the time because they kind of take on the Aussie slang. So, for instance, Ari, you would be called Kala here. That would be your nickname here. Forti, we wouldn't call you Stamos. You'd be Stammer. So that would be your nickname.
Okay.
That's what I'm calling you from now on. I love that.
That's my stage name.
Yeah, it'd be Stammer. Like that would be we adopt a lot of the Aussie slang. And then Angelo, you would either definitely be Ange, like there would be no Angelo.
Right.
Or you could even be, or, Tsa or Ruha, like they would chop it up like that.
They chop it.
Ruha.
It's Evangelos. Because it's Evangelos. So I got my other cousins go by Evan.
Yeah.
Evangelos, I went by Angelo. Now explain to me though one thing. I've never been able to understand this. In America, Konstantinos is Gus.
Yes.
But in Australia, Konstantinos is Con, which makes more sense. Where the hell did we get Gus out of Konstantinos?
Yeah,
That's
I
America.
was, when I first realized that, I thought, how did they get that? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
My dad's name and my son's name is Costadinos, but we call him Dean just to
Dean, yeah.
make it simple. Because
Dean makes sense.
my wife absolutely hates Gus. Like she's like, absolutely
I
not.
like Gus.
I was like, I think Gus is cool. We used to call my dad Gus.
Hey,
But I don't know where it came from.
Would you get-
Nobody's ever been able to tell me. And
Would you get
you know, to
mad?
call him Con was again, my wife doesn't like many things that I choose. So it's you. We were saying, I was saying
Right.
Con. She's like, no. So Dean, I think, was the easiest thing, especially if he goes to school here. I didn't want him to experience what I experienced when I was in school. So I was like,
So-
Dean is nice and simple.
So Kristina, in Australia, here in the US, Ari and I, we just mentioned, growing up as Greek Americans with Greek names, did most of your peers, cousins actually have a English version of their name, even though it doesn't make any sense?
Yeah, they would. It would have, but luckily we didn't have any. We've got names that translate very close to our Greek names anyway. Like for instance, I'm Kristina, so Kristina is not much of a problem. So we didn't have anything like that. I do have some cousins called Forti, but they're Frank.
Same here.
Yes, Frank.
that's what they-
Yeah.
that's what everybody
There's
calls it.
no connection to that.
Where the hell do you get Frank from 40?
Because
Don't know.
The light of God.
They
You know what I
both
think,
have the letter
Kristina?
F. That's
Yeah,
it.
Because you
right.
see the-
And every S name, so Strato, Stati,
Speedo.
any S name is Steve.
What is
That's
it?
it. It defaults to Steve.
Yes, same in Canada. Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Not
What is
Stacy.
You're Strato, Stavro, Stasi, you're Steve.
Tamati.
Oh,
Yeah.
Steve. Oh, Steve. I thought you said Dave. I was like, what the
No,
heck is
Steve.
wrong with Australia?
That's David.
No, you just
Yeah,
default.
but guys, it's interesting because when you look at like Frank,
Yeah.
you get Frank from Fortios. But what I like to do this because I'll meet people who aren't Greek, and this I'm telling them what their name means in Greek, like Melissa, which is honeybee.
Yeah.
And when I was single, I meet a girl. Oh, my name's Melissa. I go, actually, your name's Melissa, which is honeybee, which is Greek for
Oh.
nectar of the gods. And they're like,
Ooh.
I didn't know
Casanova.
that. I go, yes, now you know. And I always tell them, and you hear like there's certain names that have a Greek, and in America now,
Mhm.
girls' names, a lot of them are using Greek. Like our friends in LA, they have their daughter, and they're all naming them with Greek girls' names.
Like Medusa.
What's that?
Like Medusa.
Medusa. Well, Medusa was, if you look at the history of Medusa,
Yeah.
everybody thought she was like this crazy woman. She was actually oppressed.
Oh.
It's funny with the snakes in her hair.
Yeah.
She was an oppressed woman. And that's why. So it's a misunderstanding. But,
No, but to your
American
point,
films
like
make it Medusa. I was
Right.
married to her. I know her.
no, like to your point, you're right, Angelo, because I've met some non-Greeks who are named Daphne, Aphrodite.
Aphrodite, Daphne.
Yeah, definitely.
But could I say
they love,
my sister, to go back to taking a Greek name and then completely Americanizing it. My sister's name is Calliope. And you know what we know what she grew up as?
Kelly.
Caroline.
Kelly.
No,
Oh.
Caroline.
I was gonna say
Caroline.
Kelly.
Kelly would almost make
Caroline.
sense. Calliope, Kelly, but
Yeah,
Caroline. I don't know where that came from, but
yeah.
that's what they call her.
Listen,
Well,
you're right, because some people that I've met too just figured, you know what, I'm just gonna make up a name that I like, and that's it.
well, I named my daughter Olivia. We named our daughter Olivia. And Vespina, my mother, had a shit attack. But here's the deal.
That
But
drepes
then my tia goes, "Tokan is Angliko onoma," and actually Olivia is Greek-based, Livia, which is olive branch of peace, and her Yorti, because you don't know any Olivias. 17 September. So when I checked,
Oh,
we got lucky, actually, Kristina. We got lucky. And Olivia is based, and I went to ask Father, my priest at church, he goes, no, it's Greek.
Yeah.
So Livia is the thing. So my Thea, you have that one Thea who knows everything. She goes, I go, no, it's Greek. And if you look at the origin of Olivia, Livia, it's Greek.
Yeah.
So it's so funny, but we just don't hear it that often for
No.
Greeks. We don't hear that name.
Could I get your opinion, Kristina and Angelo, since you guys, you're knowledgeable on these things. So we are having, not you, Foti. Oh, wait.
Not you, Forty. Not you, Frank. Hey, Frank.
Not you, Frank.
Hey, Frank, stay out of it, Frank.
But
So
we're having a daughter, and my wife chose the name Aliyah.
What's the name?
Aliyah.
Aliyah.
So to me, Aliyah is like a 90s R&B singer who died tragically in a plane crash.
Aliyah, yeah.
And I only ever hear it in terms of maybe like almost like a Latin American or African American sense. But my wife said it's an ancient Greek name. I've never heard that before. So I'm wondering, have you guys heard Aliyah as an ancient Greek name? I mean, I'm sure I could Google it somewhere, but it's just
if your wife said that's what it is,
that's what it
yeah,
is.
the law has been laid down. I get it. But
yeah, that's a nice name. It's a beautiful name.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted a Greek name though. That's the thing. It's like she's like, no, that's an ancient Greek name. So
got it.
It's the only Greek Aliyah I've ever heard of though. Have you guys ever met a Greek Aliyah?
We
no,
will.
I've
We
met
will soon.
Aliyah, but I haven't met an Aliyah.
Interesting. Okay.
Aliyah. Now I know
I'm using this interview in my arguments with her, so I'm gonna see what happens.
Shame on
I
you.
know a girl named Grammatiki,
Yes.
which means grammar.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, her name is Grammatiki.
Yeah.
Grammar.
I yes, where I'm from, that name is common.
I also have a friend, Golfo, and I was like, dude, that
Yeah.
is the coolest name
Remember Golfo?
ever. And everybody's like horrified and mortified.
Does he
And I was
golf?
like,
No golf.
Does he
If
golf?
I wanted to name my daughter Golfo, so when she's a baby, we call her Mini Golfo.
Golf.
What else?
No, but this is good. I mean, this is good. The dialoguing of something like this, even talking about names, which are so, when it comes to your identity, because when you think of, so my friend is Chris, okay? But on his driver's license, it's Christ.
Oh, then that's-
Christ.
Is that a
So the guy
typo?
goes, it's very omnipotent of you to have Christ. He goes, but that's my name, Christ. And I don't know about you, Kristina.
Well-
Your Tazio on Christmas Day, Kristina. Christ. So the guy, he goes to the DMV in Toronto. The guy goes, excuse me. He goes, I'm a Christian, and your name says Christ. He goes, well, that's my name in Greek. It's Christos, but which means Christ, right?
Okay.
Like Theo is actually God or Theos, and Dora, Thodora, gift of God.
Yes.
So I'll tell people their head will blow off. They go, what? Theodora is gift of God.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful name, but you call him Dora the Explorer, and then Chris.
Well, Angelo, it's not any different than the Latins who call themselves Jesus.
Jesus. Bravo, the same thing.
This is great. So, Kristina, I mean, obviously, you're using, your upbringing. You're using memories as a child. We're talking about our culture, our names. What other influences inspire you for some of the posts outside of the history aspect? I mean, I know that our faith is very important to us as Greeks because we have name days. We talk about our names, right? So we celebrate name days. You got to make sure that you call everybody that you know by that name and make sure that you wish them a happy name day. Sometimes our name days are even more celebrated than our actual birthdays.
Of course, yeah.
Anything else that maybe we want to touch on that, for you is what actually helps create content for your posts? And
I wanted to ask, like on a daily basis, do you like try to plan things out, or do you kind of just allow things to inspire you? Like you're just walking down the street and you see something, you're like, that would be funny if we Greekified it or whatever.
Yeah. Some are planned. Some are definitely planned. And I'll pre-plan posts, so I'm all prepared. But whatever I'm scrolling and I might see something trending, I'll just turn it into something Greek.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a bit of both.
Nice.
It's
nice.
it like, and again, I said this before, but it sounds easy, but you have to have a knack for it. I mean, I know many people who try to do this and try to do that, and like they just can't get any traction. And the fact that you have the following that you have, like, just shows that you do have a knack for it. You have an eye for it. And you know, you were saying when you were a teenager, you and your friends would memify things anyway.
Yeah.
Now with this digital format, you know, hopefully it just makes it easier for you to express these humoristic things or historical things. But you know, that Greek cultural thing, you know, that's what matters. And I think it's really cool. And the fact that you are able to do it and do it successfully is really cool.
Yeah, well, it's grown into like a little hub community, and I'm pretty proud of the followers too. Like they will ask questions, I'll put it to my story, get some advice here and there. You know, like I said, with the language learning Greek, people that have lost the ability to learn their Greek as a child.
Yeah.
And because we've grown into such a hub, when the fires happened in Greece this year in August, I got together with some other girls from Melbourne and raised money. So I think we saw the fires happening in Kefalonia first, and straight away I contacted Hellenic Initiative in Australia. And I know the CEO there, Stegitsa, and she guided me in the right way, because I thought, I don't know where to donate the money to. I know I wanted to do something, but who do I give it to?
And you don't want to just give it something that you're not sure of. You want to make sure that it's going to go to good use.
Exactly. So I teamed up with 3 other ladies from 2 organizations. So one was my friend Ria Liapis, and she runs a foundation called Hellenic Heart Australia. And back when the financial crisis was happening, she did some amazing work. She sent containers worth of non-perishable goods, clothing for children. She did some really good work there. So I thought I need to team up with her, because she already had a foundation ready. A charity foundation. And then there's also a Facebook group in Melbourne called Greek Mums and Bubs of Melbourne. So the admin girls there, Effie and Tina, we got together and used all our platforms to gather Greeks from mainly Australia, because we already knew that the Greeks in America were doing a great job with Hellenic Initiative there. And Hellenic Initiative in Australia weren't going to do any fundraising. So Australians didn't have anywhere to give money to. I mean, they could have donated overseas, but they won't get any tax reductions or anything like that. So it took about, I think, 3 weeks to get it all organized. And we decided to do an auction. So instead of just people donating funds, we announced that we wanted to do an auction, and if there was any Greek Australian or any businesses for that matter that wanted to donate items to this auction, to come forward. And it became a full-time job. That's how many people wanted to help.
Wow.
So I had, in the end, we had about 160 items donated. And mind you, we're in lockdown now. Melbourne's in lockdown. These businesses,
I know,
down. They had no money coming in. They were shut down, and they wanted to donate items. So that in itself is amazing. And as soon as we launched the auction, so it was an online auction, people just would register and enter their details, and they could start bidding. Obviously, we're in lockdown. We couldn't go anywhere to have the event. And within 5 hours, we raised $10,000.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then by the end of it, I think it ran for nearly a week and a bit. Can't remember exactly now, but it was, in the end, we raised just under 21,000. Wow. So we then, so Stegitsa, I came to Stegitsa, I'm like, all right, which charity should I send the money to? This is the CEO from Hellenic Initiative in Australia, and she said, look, they work with 2 charities, and the best charity that we should donate to was Desmos. So they put me in touch with 2 ladies from the charity in Greece, and their names were Effie and Emily. And yeah, we went from there, and hopefully in the future now we'll be doing some more things with them to raise money when people in Greece are in need.
That's amazing.
It's
Now,
great.
Do you notice the common theme here, guys? Greek women get shit done.
Done.
Everybody we talk to, Montreal, New York, Melbourne,
California.
It's California. It's amazing. We've been on our guests. It's like, I've noticed that, and it makes me so happy. Like, just the fact that you took the initiative. You said, I'm going to call my friends up. I'm going to call the resources. You guys raised like $20,000 like this. And even when I was in Australia, because I'm friends with George Capaneris and with Nick Gio.
Yeah,
and I'm going to tell you the thing. We did a thing for the Atrophy, for Feed the Children, with Con Kilias and George, and it was George Zacharopoulos from England, Katarina Vrana, who's a famous comic in Greece. And we got together, we did some shows in Melbourne and Sydney, and we raised a ton of cash to feed the children of Greece.
Mm-hmm.
And what's amazing to me in Australia, that's why I admire it, there's a derogatory term they were using for any ethnics in Australia. Whether you're Lebanese, Italian, or most Greek, it was wog, and it was a derogatory term. Years ago, they made a show. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's called Acropolis Now. And what they did, it's Nick Giannopoulos, the most famous independent movie in Australia. Effie, who's Mary Kustos, who I met. She's wonderful. George Capaneris, who's a great comedian. They were able, guys, through a show to almost turn it around and make WOG acceptable as something. It was a derogatory. You couldn't say that in England. It's extremely racist.
It's like the
very racist.
Yeah,
really?
And it is. And it is. And in Australia, they would call WOGs. WOGs out of work, WOG boy. They made a whole series out of it. It's so famous.
That's like that's my only exposure to that word is like the shows and movies that I've seen. So I always thought it was like a term of endearment or something. Like something good.
They transformed it. Yeah. So if you saw Greeks or Italians on TV prior to Acropolis Now, there was racism in that show. So they would show the Greek or the Italian or the Spaniard as a greasy wog, as someone that was lazy. It was never portrayed in a good way. And then the guys got together and formed Acropolis Now. And Acropolis Now was amazing. Prior to them, they had people imitating Greeks, so not even real Greeks playing Greeks. And it was almost insulting. You watch it now, you used to giggle to it because you had nothing else to look at back then in the 80s and early 90s. And if you watch it now, it is so derogative, it's so racist. But George Capaneris and Mary Kustos has actually transformed the way people look at ethnics in Australia. Very true. They're actually pioneers of WOG comedy. They had Acropolis Now, and it was a hit show. Like I still watch reruns now. That's how funny it is. And a lot of my, I suppose, inspiration comes from them, of course. They're pioneers in Australia. And then they then started their theatre. So they had the Wogs Out of Work, Wogorama, and then Wog Boy. And then Nick Giannopoulos then did the movies, Wog Boy. And I think he's bringing a new one out next year. So Wog Boy. That's right. Yeah. Doesn't matter if you're Greek, Italian, Lebanese, any Arab ethnicity, they all relate to it because we all have something in common here when it comes to that comedy, that style of comedy. We've had George Capaneris on the show, and I'm good friends with Georgie, and I've been talking to Nick. I'm going to get Nick to come on, and even Mary, because they really are.
there's more to it, and you're absolutely right, Kristina, that they were able through comedy in the show to partake that negative and turn it into something positive.
Yep.
You know, through comedy. And you're right, they pioneered that because in a predominantly white Anglo-Saxon society, which I know I grew up in Canada and more mixed in America, they stood out with it. And it's really, if you guys ever get a chance to watch it, if it's online, it's extremely funny.
Yeah.
Nemo and all, it's really funny stuff, but it's poignant. It has a good meaning to it. It's so good. But you know, Kristina, it's been so much fun talking to you. And congratulations again on Are You Greek? We definitely know you're Greek. And I look forward to coming to Australia. I hope they open it up. I'm getting emails every day. Are you coming? Yes, I want to come to Australia. I love Australia. I love Melbourne. I want to come there. But hopefully, pronto soteros, they're going to open it up.
Has Omicron got to Australia yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even in Canada now has it. So
it's all going to be everywhere. Like, just do what you're doing and hope for the best, because we're stuck for a long haul here.
Right.
But
so this is where I'm gonna turn it over to Fortis now.
Frank.
And it's been so much fun. You're delightful, Kristina.
Thank you so much. Likewise.
Now, Fortis.
Yeah, Kristina, this has been great, and an honor to have you here, because we're big fans of your page. We always look forward to your posts. Maybe now we'll start making some comments as well from the American side. But being, obviously a Greek Australian, and we, as Angela had mentioned in the beginning, we kind of all come from the same, mold with our parents and so forth. And the first question, we're going to ask you 3 questions. The first question is basically about our food culture. And, obviously growing up as Greeks, whether you're in Australia, South Africa, Canada, or the US, I'm sure we all share the same food, right? So having said that, can you tell us your favorite and least favorite Greek food?
My favorite would have to be kotopoulo youvetsi. With feta.
That's good.
With
That's
feta
my
cheese.
favorite. Has to have feta cheese.
Oh, that's
Yes.
Is that after it's ready, you put it in, or is it during while it's cooking?
No, so like I'll crumb it on top.
Oh,
delicious.
that's a game changer.
Making me hungry.
Game changer.
That's my favorite. And of course, all the other dishes are to die for too. But when I see that cooking, that's
yours.
That's my weakness. Least Margherita.
Yeah. That's got to be at the top on the list for us.
It is.
What is it? Number one, is it the aroma, the texture, the flavor? What is it about margherita that throws people off?
I don't know. It's probably everything.
Everything.
My husband loves it, but I can't stand it.
That's interesting that he loves it.
I mean, we grew up with patsa versus margherita.
Yeah.
Yanis Yanakis.
The fumes alone. What's going on here?
Oh God.
You know,
ran out of food.
But it's a great hangover remedy.
I've heard that. Yeah.
We're never gonna have any margherita or patsa makers as sponsors of this show. I'll tell you that much.
Unless we start a trend.
Maybe.
Excellent. Second question for you, Kristina, is in what you do is obviously your posts are mimicking memes and so forth, and funny sayings. Are there any funny sayings that you grew up with that still stick with you today that you like to express with us?
Well, yes. One that Angela is probably familiar with. Taswalak sota fota.
Love that. I love that.
That's awesome.
Change your light bulbs.
There is nothing better than an American friend asking what your mom just said to you, and she's like, "Oh, she's gonna change my lights." He's like, "What?"
Yeah.
I says Foxo. Oh yeah, she's gonna.
Yeah.
Any other ones? Those are good.
I'm trying to think. I can't think of any now that come to mind.
All right.
That's the one that probably sticks out to me.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Good one.
And the last question for Kristina is, as Greeks, we're very dramatic. We're we invented drama and so forth, and we live by superstition. No matter what you say, most of us, whether we want to believe it or not, are there any superstition that you still live by today?
There's a few, I have to say. I try not to be superstitious, but it's embedded in me. So don't walk over anyone because they won't grow.
You know what's funny, Kristina?
Especially the kids.
I just learned that. Literally like maybe 6 months ago.
And if
I didn't know that one until
if you did it, you have to like back up, right? You got to go back.
My son was laying across the doorway. And I went to walk over him, and my wife's aunt was like, "Mi pedazo de pedir." She started going crazy. I was like, "Hey,
tackle you to the floor."
Yeah.
That's
Don't
hilarious.
put shoes on the table.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
place
that
shoes
one.
on the
Yes.
table.
wait a minute! Don't put your shoes on the table.
Never.
Yeah.
That's a
Never.
first.
Never.
Mm-hmm. Never,
Never.
ever, ever, ever.
That, you know what? That's from Mitilini. I got the same thing with my mom. Tapapucha mitavasi sto trapezi. That's a
Yeah.
Mitilineko.
Is that really like a superstitious, like a supernatural thing, or is it because they're germy? You don't want germy things on the table.
No.
Something bad will happen if you do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, never put them on the table. I tell my daughter, I take them off the table. She goes, "Why? Don't take
Especially
them off the
new
table."
shoes. Like
New
especially
shoes.
if they're new.
Interesting.
If I not thinking do it and my mum's here, she'll have a heart attack. She'll take them off the table. She'll lose it.
Yeah.
Now, does it matter if it's like children's shoes or adult shoes?
Doesn't matter what the shoe. Just a shoe, any sort of shoe
What
cannot go
about
on.
Kristina? What about the door that you enter is the door you have to leave.
Yes, that's a big one too. Yeah, and with your right foot, you have to enter with the right.
Yeah.
With the right foot.
Listen, we need to publish a handbook,
Yeah, we do. We should.
and every house should have this handbook.
She sips
do
on
you-
her
do you wanna
fun,
keep
That's
Like
great.
to the Ksenia as well, so they know not to jinx
Right.
her.
That's right.
I'm all about our Greek culture, but I don't know if these are the things that we want to continue into the future.
Yes,
do.
we have to.
I do.
We must. We must.
This is Angelo, as a Spartan. This is what we have to take care of people like Ari and like cut them off so they don't ruin it.
Ruin it. Yeah, no. I have all this stuff around me all the time, man. It makes me crazy. My daughter thinks I'm nuts. She goes, "What's wrong with you, Dad?" Just take it off the table.
Let me ask
Don't put it on
Kristina
the
one
table.
more question, even though we with the questions, because now we're on a roll. What about Kristina, Matiasma and the Mati?
Well, I've got a few things to say about that. So the Mati, I think, is real, and then people are going to now say, "Oh, but not Greek. If you're Greek Orthodox, you don't believe in the Mati." Well, that's sort of true, sort of not true. They don't believe in the symbol of the Mati.
Okay.
But the church do believe in Matiasma. I think they call it
Yes.
Vascania or something like that. I could have that pronunciation wrong. But they just believe the stavro is enough to xematiasi, and the priest will do it.
Do you practice Matiasma?
Not me personally, but there's of course people in the family that you call when you get a headache.
This is it amazes me that we have these conversations. How many of our family members will make a phone call, and my family included, when someone's not feeling good? Like call my mom, call my Thea, call this if you're not feeling good. And it's almost every household.
And why
I do it.
we always yawn? We always yawn. So there's got to be something to it, right? So
Yeah.
when you're getting
It
some
works. I believe it. I believe it
Yeah.
100%. So I don't care what anybody says to me. I believe in it 100%.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's great. No, I mean we want this to be. We want to be transparent Greeks and discuss these mysteries in our culture.
I hear doubt in your voice, Forty. But I'll tell you
No,
right now, buddy.
I'm not. There's no doubt. I'm thinking of ideas. You know, I'm an ideas guy. I want to take this.
I get it, but
Footy's trying to
dude,
figure out the
Matias, my
hustle
dude,
with the
it's
Mati.
real. That shit is real. I'll
I
tell
wanna
you right now,
I wanna-
it's real.
if
I don't
it's
care what
real, I
anybody
wanna
tells
sell
me,
it.
it's real. Energy. It's all energy, dude, and it's real.
No, I
It's
believe
real.
it. I believe it. I believe that you just mentioned energy. The same way we feel the energy with each other as people, you can feel what
Yeah, of
someone's
course.
right. You can feel when someone's like either shisty or they're not a good person, and the opposite too, right? So I believe in energy. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And the ancient Greeks did too. They really believed in energy. They had
Yeah.
they were like, I think they're the ones that started the Xenophilism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all cultures have it. You know, you have karma, you have the Mati, you have like all sorts of things. Whatever it's called, there is some sort of energy.
Version, yeah.
Yeah, that we just
Does-
we don't fully understand.
Does that apply, Ari, to the Fludzani?
Listen, I'm the wrong guy to talk about this stuff because I'm a very science and technology oriented person. So I don't buy into any of it, but
It could be sci-fi.
I don't discount it because I can't say that the only way I would discount it is if I could personally explain exactly why things are. I can't. So I'm not going to discount it. I just don't personally abide by it. I've never had anybody watch me like keel over in about 5 minutes. I've never had anybody like Matiasi. So like I've never really experienced it. So I'm just saying that's from my personal point of view. I'm not discounting it because I can't discount things I don't understand and I can't explain. I'm just saying it's not something that I like really worried about growing up and whatnot.
All right.
With that said, I believe there's something there. I believe there's energy. I believe there's energy of the universe. There's stuff going on that we just don't get because there's too many unexplained things. And how many people have told me how sick they were, and within like 5 seconds of a Matias, they're like perfectly fine. Even my wife, like my wife tells me that all the time, and I'm like,
I want you to record this.
it's being recorded.
Yeah, no, this is great content. This is great content.
But the thing is, like, Angelo is somebody that, like, you know, his conviction and the fact that he knows how to do it, like, pushes it even further for me, like, as something that, you know, I should try to understand.
So
I don't try to convince.
I can call Angelo.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I don't convince anybody of it. So
Hey,
it's
Ange.
not. This isn't is it real or not real? To me, it doesn't matter. I know
Yeah.
I know
That's
what
what I mean.
I've seen and what I've experienced. So
That's what I mean. If you were trying to push it on me, I'd be like, all right, Angelo. But the
no,
fact that
but
you
that's why I tell
have,
people you
Let
believe
me
what
ask
you
you
want.
this,
Yeah,
Andrew.
exactly.
but your conviction in what you believe makes me more like like want to believe it and want to understand it.
So
Yep.
real quick, not to go off topic, and I know we're running out of time, but Angelo, as a performer and you're on stage and you've got so many fans and everyone loves you, and when the show is over, everyone is like just giving you so many compliments. Does that ever interfere and give you that energy of being Matias Menos?
I do a ritual before every show.
I was gonna say, like,
Really?
how do you
Yes, I
block
do.
all
And my
that?
mother and my yaya, and this is going down Migraciones. This is generational thing. And I know it, and I do it. First time I've ever said this, I do it before every show. My
Okay,
grandma,
so
my
you're
great grandmother,
protected.
my grandmother, my mom, now me. I have this thing that I do. Can't say what it is, but
That's fine. That's
it's
fine.
done.
All right, because I was
Interesting.
just putting things into perspective that, you know, most those that are Matias many is because of those that are experiencing energy of like compliments and people that are looking at you a certain way.
Right.
That
Anyway.
releases this energy that makes you feel off.
That's
Yeah.
another show.
That's another
Yeah.
That's
show.
another show.
But listen, Kristina, this has been great. We'd love to have you again at some point as you grow this great community of Are You Even Greek? I love the title, obviously. I'm sure there's a lot of things to share on your platform as we continue to collaborate with you.
Can you start a page on the flip side called "You're Not Even Greek"?
Yeah, I should.
Just like
I'll
insult
put that.
non-Greeks.
Oh,
You just
man.
want to be Greek.
yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, we want to thank you so much for taking the time with us. We commend you on a great page. Great Instagram handle. I love the name and the great content that you provide, and the fact that you use your voice to not only just, you know, gain followers and build up your own, but you use your voice to help our culture, help our people. So that's very commendable, and we thank you for doing that. And we want to thank again, thank you for being with us. Continued success to you. You know, Foti and Angela have very memeable faces, so remember that whenever you need to make fun of somebody.
Yes.
And again, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Foti, thank you. Angelo, thank you so much.
Angelo.
Everybody
Hi, guys.
watching.
Thank you. Thanks, Kristina.
Thank you so much.
And everybody watching and listening, we're gonna connect you guys with Kristina's page so you guys could follow if you're not already following. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for watching, listening, and
Thank
we
you.
are done.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Yes.
Bye.